Welcome to the Society Pod, a podcast for entrepreneurs, marketers, and leaders. Here's your host, Jessica Yarmy.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to today's episode of the Society Pod. This is a new format that we are trying out. This is called Q&A Day, and I am here with Debbie Bellenger. Her and I are connected for a long time because of LinkedIn and because of the fitness industry. But Debbie was nice enough to volunteer and participate in this first ever Q&A Day. And the idea for this stems from whenever I have people reach out to me and they have questions or they want to jump on a call, I usually stack them on Fridays. And this so happens to be a Friday where I had 3 calls stacked, like back to back to back, with people that are all amazing people that are in my network that I love and hold dear to my heart. And so I figured instead of just keeping all of your wisdom locked up, let's just record it and put it out to the world as a Q&A podcast. So Debbie, with that, I will kick it over to you. You can introduce yourself, tell everybody where you're from, what you're currently doing, and then we can dive into where you're at and what questions we can answer for you.
Okay, sounds good. Thanks for the trust. Here we go. Let's have fun. My name is Debbie Bellenger. I'm from Canada originally, from Ottawa. And I've been working in the States since 97. And probably an important fact, I have 3 citizenships now. I did my American citizenship October 1 of 19, and I have British citizenship as well. So currently I am running my own company, Jessica, and it is called DB Fitness and Wellness Solutions, LLC. And my company is focused on a couple of things. One is to elevate the fitness industry to become a wellness industry. That's in my soul. And I'm doing that by providing CEC approved education for fitness professionals via Zoom in masterclass format and tons of webinars and speaking at conventions. So leaning into my educator role. And then the other portion of the work is to support employers in the strategy build and the analysis of gaps in workplace well-being. So for a company that really wants to get started, knows that they should have it, but really has no place, like just no idea in their mind where to begin, I offer services to support them in starting that journey. And it always starts with data. I've done a little bit of work with some clubs in North Carolina, South Carolina, kind of in the same genre of work in supporting small to medium-sized fitness clubs in partnering with employers. So how do they take what they offer in their bricks and mortar and expand their market outside of the 4 walls, right? So I've been doing a little bit of that as well. And I love all of it. I love all of that work.
You're based in North Carolina right now?
Upstate South Carolina, about 10 minutes from the North Carolina border. Yeah.
One additional piece of background that I have to provide everyone is I connected with you first on LinkedIn. We've been connected on LinkedIn for a bit now. And then recently I connected with you on Facebook. And all of a sudden, I'm getting all of these friend requests from people in the fitness industry. And we have only one shared connection, and it is you.
I didn't know this.
You are a master connector in the fitness industry. Maybe that's a good additional background for us to set before we dive into things. Where did you start in fitness? Where have you been in fitness? And then how do you know all of these people in fitness who are super active in the fitness community?
So thank you for pointing that out to me, because I didn't know that. So that's kind of a fun fact, right? It's fun when you
have super fans. You have super fans out there. There are Debbie super fans floating out in the Facebook social world.
That's hilarious. So the fitness background started immediately upon graduation from my master's degree. As fate would have it, my first real job was at the Ottawa YMCA in the Leadership Center, which was responsible for all of the fitness instructor training. So the 32-hour base instructor training. It was 32 hours back then, Jessica. Cracks me up. And all the workshops that we did, I had the best mentor. So I started as an educator there. I did teach fitness while I was doing my master's degree, actual Group X and the fitness coordinator. So I had a little bit of that as well. But really getting into the role of fitness education, fitness connector, probably was in that Y role. And at the same time, I joined the Fitness Ontario Leadership Program, which was another instructor training workshop. So I'd be flown around all over Ontario to different clubs to teach individuals how to become fitness instructors. And then I joined the Canadian Reebok Master Trainer team right before I moved to the States. Of course, that gives you the exposure of the Canadian fitness scene. I did a lot of speaking and presenting for Maureen Hagen with CanFit Pro, and I'm back on that circuit, which is these full circle moments, right? It's really fun. And then I joined the American Reebok Master Trainer team in Texas. I started in Houston, Texas, and whoever was the Reebok trainer in the state of Texas at the time had just retired. So I was super blessed because I landed in a state where I could continue on with my role. So it's been a journey of remaining very connected to the fitness industry, teaching fitness through all my years. I have never stopped to this day. I still teach fitness classes, being an educator on stage, and holding some big jobs where I was responsible for big teams of fitness instructors.
So all told, how many years of fitness industry experience do you have? And don't be shy.
I'm picking up my calculator.
If you're following this on audio only and you're not on the YouTube link, she has a calculator in hand to do this math. Okay, 27.
It is Friday afternoon. 27 years.
27 years. Yeah. And so what I'm hearing, if I'm going to play it back for you, you love the fitness space. You are a servant within the fitness space. You believe in fitness as a piece in the overall wellness puzzle. You believe in the potential of fitness to be preventative in the health space, and you want to help companies incorporate it into their overall health and wellness ecosystem for their employees. And so you currently are sitting in like your sweet spot of everything you love and have built a career on over 27 years.
That's right.
Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay, so break down the problem for us, Debbie.
So here's the problem. It is, I have yet, going into year 3 of my business, full-time, all in on me, to regain the corporate salary that I was earning when I left corporate, and to feel like I am working at top of license. At the hospital, I worked 23 years as a wellness director for 2 hospitals. And in the clinical space, we call it top of license. It means the same thing in fitness, though. So I don't feel like I'm working to my full potential, Jessica, and it's making me crazy. So those 2 things, when you know you can, you know your value, you have complete faith in what it is you're doing, but I have not realized working at my potential in this full-time gig, all in on me, and replacing that salary, that would be a goal. I mean, it's a legit goal. I earned it one time. I know I can get back to it. So that's maybe that's a 2-pronged problem, maybe.
Yeah. So if you're within your current business model, break down your revenue streams. You do some speaking, you do some, like, we would call it B2B consulting.
Yes.
What are other pieces of the pie? Or is that really the pie? It's kind of in those 2 buckets.
Yeah, I would add a third. I have a regular stream of income teaching Group X. So there's 5 to 8 fitness classes a week. And I also do 1 8-hour workshop a month for TRX, because I'm a TRX master trainer. So that's pretty regular as well. We can add that to the list. And then the occasional writing, but that's just kind of here and there as it comes. Done articles and got paid to do it, which was a nice surprise.
What, if we're going to look at those revenue streams, speaking, B2B consulting, teaching Group X, teaching TRX, writing, what percentage is coming from the B2B consulting?
That's probably only 10% right now.
I would have thought it was higher, which is why I started there. Give me the other percentages. And they don't all need to add up to 100%. We won't test your math today. We'll just go rough numbers. Okay. What percentage is coming from speaking?
Speaking is probably 10. It's probably 10, Jessica. I don't make that much speaking. I do a lot
Group
of
X.
that much. Yeah, Group X is probably 50%, oddly enough.
Okay. TRX.
And then, about the remaining 20 or so percent.
Okay. And then writing like a bit.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah.
It seems like you see a bigger opportunity in B2B consulting, and then you see a bigger opportunity in speaking.
Mm-hmm. I do.
And so taking time and making sure the time at Group X is appropriately attributed to, like, obviously 50% of revenue coming from Group X, you can't leave that behind, but it's also a lot of hours to do that.
It is.
I think the question you had originally emailed to me was, is it time to restructure things, or is it time to throw in the towel, or is it time to, like, what is the next step, given you've been pushing on the B2B consulting side and haven't unlocked it? Is that a fair assessment of where we
Yeah.
are?
100% fair assessment. Yes.
Because I'm in fitness, and I'm also a believer in fitness and its role in businesses' health and wellness ecosystems for their employees, and I know nobody does that well. I think there's a market there. There's a space there, but it's clear, like, if we've been banging our head against that for 2 years and it's only representing 10, like, something in your pitch on the B2B consulting side is off. And one of the difficult things that I have found in getting into B2B relationships is sometimes there's high switching cost, or there's high obstacles to becoming a
Mm-hmm.
preferred person. But
Mm-hmm.
once you're in the door, it gets easier. I guess if you're looking at the B2B consulting side of the business, because that would be the side that you're under tension about right now, we'll just say, what's been your B2B pitch, and do you have thoughts on how you would maybe, like, switch it up?
Yeah, it's so the pitch has been how to get started in workplace well-being programming. The switch up needs to be, because I'm very skilled in this, and I just ran it past vice president of benefits from the last company I worked at, because we work together all the time, and said, let me just run this by you, because it's not landing. What am I missing? Basically, where we landed in the conversation, which was super helpful, is my strength is actually in the analysis of the data. Give me your data. Give me your company data, medical claims data, pharmacy spend data, employee engagement data, employee needs assessments, whether you're doing PRC or any of the other engagement surveys, right? And any other data that's been gathered from the workforce. Let me have a look at that and write the story for you that you need to be concerned about for the health of your employees. Because I can write that story. I can do the claims analytics and tell the story of what the ills of the workforce are based on the emergency room visits, inappropriate emergency room visits, which are super expensive, the top 3 to 5 medicines being used by the employees, the average cost of care in the medical spend, just having a look at that, the high cost claimants, have a look at all the employees that are running over $50,000 per annum, which is going up and up and up. So you look at all of that, and then any employee engagement data, how happy employees are at work, how engaged, what's the attrition rate, and kind of run the gap analysis of, based on the health of the population, I could almost say, here are your top 3 health concerns. It's interesting because the brokers, when they're reporting out to employers, don't necessarily get to that. You'll get all the numbers, but what's the story, and then what's the solution? I'm really good at crafting what that story is and then offering up what the wellness solutions should be, customized employer wellness solutions. So when you ask, what do I need to do differently? It's not how do we get started? Let me help you review your data and finding the right script. Jessica, taking the time to write the script, rewrite it, and practice it. Really, that I have to shift gears.
This is a space that, I mean, there's so much red tape in healthcare, in the healthcare side of health and wellness. It's going to be a limitation. The ways to break through the red tape, having relationships with people, like having existing relationships and being able to, like, have direct conversations with people in your network who can get you into the right conversations, or it's having a solution that directly connects to the bottom line, where you could say to someone blindly via an email, give me a chance to cut at your data, or, like, look at what you're doing, and I could save your organization, put whatever dollar amount to it or percentage to it or whatever case study. But I think at the end of the day, it has to be connected to, if you hire me for X, I could save you Y.
Mm-hmm.
And if there's a case study that you have done in the past where you've worked with someone, even if you could say their name, great. If you can't say their organization's name, at least alluding to the fact that like this is a healthcare system in South Carolina and it's a however many $1 million ecosystem of medical practitioners, and really put
Mm-hmm.
bullets around what you've
Mm-hmm.
done for them. So then when you approach somebody brand new who doesn't know you, Debbie, who's like fitness expert, knows everybody, loves and breathes this health and wellness lifestyle, so many emails are just ending in the trash if it's not crystal clear of like what is your value going to be.
Yeah.
And the easiest way to cut through and show value is on dollars.
Yes.
I know there's other things, in terms
Mm-hmm.
of like overall health of employees and, things that are good for society as a whole. But in a blind B2B pitch, the easiest way you're going to get emails open, calls back is to be able to show in a case study, here's what I've done. I think there is a need to maybe mix up your model, like how you're structuring your offering, but then how are you
Mm-hmm.
marketing your model and going out with maybe leading with two different things. Like you could write the overall state of health and wellness in the healthcare space, whatever. You could write a one sheeter on that. That's like
Mm-hmm.
free download of here's the opportunities that exist in employee wellness today. You attach that to an email. You collect open rates of like who has downloaded this file from this email. They're in an automation. Okay, they've opened that one. Call them again. Hey, I see that you looked at the overall state of wellness. Here's what I can do in your space. I'm going to send you this case study. Send the case study. You can track via email analytics, like did they open the case study, just to start to drill down into who are we really going after in our sales process.
Mm-hmm.
um, I think if you're going to stay in that B2B consulting space and you're trying to jump that 10% up to a 50%, you're going to have to get a offering very tight and then a funnel very tight.
Yeah.
So you have, whether it's a formal CRM or whether it's something even like a Zoho or something that's fairly easy to set up where you have your leads and then you're sending them different things at different moments. So it's a more structured sales process. I think that's something that's going to be needed to get that B2B piece up where it needs to be. I know part of your question was like, do I just kind of like abandon the consulting thing and go back to a full-time role? And I think in some of the conversations you're having with the people you already know, not in your sales funnel, like this is separate from like somebody who might be blind outreach. I think it's worth staying open within those conversations of like, and if you critical goal of yours for 20 or beyond, like I could do this for you full time, or I could do this for you fractional time because you have your other streams of like speaking and
Mm-hmm.
teaching and
Mm-hmm.
TRX and writing. Like you have other things going on. So you're not necessarily looking for a 9 to 5, but you're looking for more dollars, more revenue coming through the consulting revenue stream.
Mm-hmm.
So staying open to things that would be more like full-time roles or even 3-month consulting projects would be interesting to have in your pocket as you're getting into conversations either within your network or as somebody who's farther down your sales funnel, so to speak.
Yeah, I love that. I absolutely love that because I do feeling a chief wellness officer role in a fractional way would be very interesting to me. I also think being a chief wellness advisor to some of the fitness companies out there would also be a win-win for them and for me to be able to use this ton of knowledge around medical wellness and fitness and corporate wellness and community wellness. I'm kind of a unicorn in the industry for having being able to work in all those spaces. I'm very blessed, actually. It's wonderful that I've been able to do that. That would be very interesting to me as well. I would feel like I was more productive and sharing more of my experience and knowledge. And I do take great pride in staying very current. I'm a research hound because when I joined a hospital system, you don't get to talk to the docs when you don't know your stuff. And it's a passion of mine just to know the latest trends and cross-reference them. Like you said, yes, I could sit down without effort and write a one-pager on the state of health and well-being in the States. That's just be so easy, right? And I'm smiling here as you're mentioning a case study. Why it is I've not thought of producing that for myself. It was in my webinar, corporate wellness webinar at the Medical Fitness Association in Baltimore in November. And I won Educator of the Year there this year, which was very fun.
Yeah, you did.
Yeah, I did. Thank you. And I had it outlined I de-identified the company name, but there were 2 case studies from work that I had done with huge success. Very interesting. Why I've not thought to, I'm putting it all out there. And yet what you just shared is, okay, Debbie, sit down, map it for you. Map it for, this is very interesting. Instead of providing it in an education forum, maybe adopt it for my business. Yeah. That's very,
Yeah. I think sometimes in B2B, I think sometimes I'll say we, because I do the same thing where it's like, I could help you with anything. Tell me what you need. And in a lot of instances, the decision makers and even the leadership teams, like they don't know exactly what they need. And so having it as a case study where it's like, hey, this is what some other organization needed, even if you can't say the name and it has to stay a hypothetical, but you're at least outlining for them, like, here's the ways I was able to benefit this organization. And maybe their needs are slightly different, but at least you're showing in a more digestible way, here's what I could bring to the table. Because if you've read the book, The Quarter Life Crisis, you get to a place where you have so many options. It's like you get frozen because you have too many options. And it's like you're in that place right now as you're pitching yourself, because you're like, what do you need help with? Do you need group X? Do you want me to help you with your actual like practitioners? Do you want me to help with your, like on this side? Because you have all these different perspectives and expertise that you bring to the table. But it almost muddies the water when you're going in pitch yourself as a solution, because it's unclear then, like, what's the best place for her to be? And a case study just tells them, here's the best place for me to be. I can do this, this, and this.
Yep,
I think,
right.
I think it is a superpower though of yours that you, having 27 years in the industry and having those years come from different perspectives, does give you a unique perspective where you can connect dots easier than probably most people can. And what I see in the industry, especially as we're entering this era of like Ozempic, we're kind of crossing into prescription world. It's an important time for people like you to be loud about what you know, because you know both sides of the game. And I don't know what that means in terms of like a B2B consulting piece. Like, does it best fit on the fitness side, or does it best fit on the healthcare side? I think it's about you being louder and more consistent with your expertise, and the right people are going to connect with you. So where you said it would be very easy for you to put together a one-sheeter about an overall view of what you see, maybe if that's easy, like if that kind of flows because it's your lane, maybe it becomes a monthly newsletter, and then you get an email list going, and then you kind of like you're building in that regard. At a minimum, like you should be actively posting things. I would say, I mean, your Facebook is ridiculous. We've already talked about that, but definitely on LinkedIn as well. And just adding your perspective to the top of them. Anything that comes out health insurance wise or employee wellness wise, or you have amazing perspective, but unless somebody's come to see you speak, like how do they know? Social media platforms give you an awesome opportunity to share what you know to people who don't know you yet. And so being a little bit more present out there would help you solidify, like, here's all the different things that I can see and have perspective in, and the right people are going to connect with you. And then as you have conversations with those connections, you're going to say, oh my gosh, yeah, this, and it's going to be clear, like, where's the blue ocean? Like, where's the opportunity? And right now, I think it's like you're in your silo and you're just churning solopreneurs and trying to unlock it, where the unlock is probably being more public with your opinions and what you know, and having the opportunities come to you.
That's brilliant, Jessica. And I'm not going to lie. I'm really, happy to share that I hold back a lot on LinkedIn because I have something to say about everything in the health and wellness space.
Yeah.
I really do. And it's because I do see the population health side of it, right? So I do have loud opinions. I have not been expressing them. So I'm going to take this is good feedback for me because you're right. I do need to say what I need to say and
Yeah.
be more open about it.
And even if you don't feel comfortable taking a extreme point of view, you could share just a perspective that's like, if this happens, here's the trickle down of like
Yeah,
that
that's
one
good.
thing happening in the industry. Because you, with your 27 years of perspective, like you can see, okay, if we
Hmm.
do this, it's going to impact this, 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 and this. So you can almost be like, here's some watch outs, or you can say like, here's news in the space, or here's news in the healthcare space that people on the fitness side might not see. There's a need for people like you who are almost translators between the two industries, because the
Hmm.
two industries have to talk better.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Oh,
We're
yeah.
not speaking the same language at all, for whatever reason, but we need to be in order to truly help the end consumer, which should be the end goal for both industries, whether it is or not, like TBD. But
Yeah.
there's a need for people like you to sit in that space, who can sit in the middle and say, be a moderator, be a mediator between the two sides. Like, here's where the opportunity is. You're perfectly positioned to be able to speak on that and then also consult on it. But I think it's unclear maybe to a potential business how you can best like help them. So I think
Hmm.
more content and then clean pitches of like what you bring to the table
Hmm.
is a great way to just try to jump that 10% to be more like 50%.
That is the goal.
Well, I was just going to say that it's doable, especially if you're thinking of it in ways. I will be fractional. I will be here's an offering that I have in my consulting services where I come into your business for 3 months. I dig into your data. I'll leave you with this kind of deliverable, i.e., case study kind of
Yeah.
results. You
Yeah.
probably have things you've built for them that like, can be shared. Um, but I think there needs to be a little bit more clarity as to like
Mhm.
why should someone work with you?
Yeah, I
I know.
agree.
I know why, but but
Yeah.
but I think it's for them to know exactly why and like what you bring to the table.
Yeah. I agree. I agree with you 100%.
But I think in the meantime, like I love that you do the speaking that you do and that you do the teaching that you do, because you have to share that passion. You have to scratch that itch. And I think the industry needs people like you to kind of to lead the way in that regard,
Hmm.
and to do it for the right reasons, and all the more reason to share and be louder about what you believe in, and not just do it in your micro groups, but really be louder about it.
Hmm. I agree. That's called kickassery. We just put kickassery. It's one of my words for 24. I made it up. I like it.
I think
Yeah.
it's important because I
Hmm.
think sometimes you don't see how powerful your combination of different things is. And where I have people who talk to me about like, what do I do in my career? I'm like, put a Venn diagram together that overlaps as many things that you're passionate in as possible. And here you are, you've done the Venn diagram. You overlap everything that you're passionate about and you're good at. And and then you're kind of like sitting in your Venn diagram like, what do I do? It's not clicking. And I think it's a sales and marketing kind of problem. Like, you can execute on it once you're in the door. So it's really like, how are you approaching the pitch? How are you approaching selling yourself? And it's a
Hmm.
really hard thing to do when you're somebody who just like goes in and executes. Sometimes it's difficult to take that step back and pitch it and say like, here's what I could bring to the table.
Yeah, that's an interesting observation because it really is. Sales and marketing, marketing particular is not my wheelhouse. I had no problem though. This was an interesting learning jumping into my own business full time. I had no problem representing the hospital as director of wellness, selling employer wellness agreements for upwards of 200,000 per annum. And by the time I left the system, it was a $500,000 on the book of business for wellness department, right? I didn't have a sales team. It was just me. I had wellness coordinators, but I believed in what I was sharing. You have to take care of your employees, and here's why. Of course, I had the legal system and compliance and marketing and everybody behind me to produce all the things I needed. But the point is, because I was passionate about it, and truly believed in it, it could take one meeting, it could take 5, it could take 1 year, it could take 3 years to get it seated in a budget. But eventually we took the step with the employers. Then when you start on your own, you go through this whole thing of, who am I? What's my brand? It's very different, right? And it's much more vulnerable when you don't have the organization wrapped around you. It's just you. And that's a challenge. The marketing piece is a challenge for me. I'm not going to lie. It's a lot to do as one person. So, and you're hitting the nail on the head. These are real challenges for me.
Yeah, I mean, it might be interesting, and I would post this on Facebook probably because of your network, but I would be more public about that challenge that you're facing. I am looking to grow my B2B consulting business in 2024. I'm terrible at pitching myself and marketing myself. I am looking for someone to help me with my personal branding or my business pitch. And you, because of the network you have, will have a number of people who raise their hand and say, I could do this for you very easily. I could set up a sales funnel for you very easily. I could create one-sheeters for you very easily. I could create a newsletter format for you very easily. And then you take yourself out of the seat that you're worst at and you let yourself sit in the seat that you're best at.
Yeah.
Now, it's going to be a matter of finding that right person who has the complementary skill set to yours. But I think, to use your word, like being vulnerable and putting yourself out there, I'm sitting as a solopreneur. I'm struggling. Like, here's the problem that I'm having. I think you'll find someone within your own network who would, even as a side hustle, help you do the things that you're struggling with on that B2B side. And then the other sides can just stay. Like, speaking can just sit. Teaching can just sit. Like, everything else can just continue on as it is. But where you need the traction is on that B2B side. And I would get some outside perspective going on it so that you can truly understand why it's not unlocking.
Right. Yeah, that's very helpful. Because those things I don't really care to do. I'll gladly produce content all day long, easy peasy, and I love it. But the finesse of it and CRMs and all this stuff, I put my corporate wellness masterclass on Kajabi. I hired a consultant. And just the process, oh my gosh, Jessica, just the process of taking a lesson of 45 minutes and putting it in 8 modules and refilming it was the death of me. It was so tedious, worse than doing budgets. Like,
yeah.
I don't like this. I don't like this at all.
Well, and let's take it out of your world and put it into entrepreneurship in general. You start a business and you think you need to do all the things. You think you need to be a solopreneur. And for me, my sticking points are financial things, like accounting things, organization and project management things. But I am epic at like covering a lot of ground, jumping all over the place, bull in a china shopping my way through projects. But then I need somebody on the complementary side of me who's like, okay, let's corral this, like let's keep it organized, or let's prioritize things. So it's an exercise in self-awareness. I think you have the self-awareness of like, I've been doing this for 27 years. I know exactly what I'm doing. The self-awareness to say, what I don't do well is present my offering or present how I could be a solution, and then raising your hand to your network and saying, here's what I need. Someone in your network is going to be able to help you. And I have a few connections who might be able to help you also, but I don't think you need a high level connection. I think you could always have networking conversations with high level, but what you need is like in the nitty gritty, in the like automations, in the, kind of like somebody who's going to be in the weeds with you and structure the weeds so that it makes sense. And then you have your pipeline built, and then you have your, a couple different offerings you can send to people. You have triggers that show you when those things have been downloaded, like all of those kind of things that you don't necessarily want to be bogged down with, but you can get somebody to do those things.
Yeah, you're exactly right. That's not stuff I care to spend time. I have a website designer because I didn't see myself taking 10, 20 hours to learn any web platform. Just, So you're right. It's good awareness and leaning into strengths and not wasting time. I'm maybe too focused. I'm a taskmaster too. Like maybe I'm too focused. I know I am on the action things, and I need to probably carve out more time with the planning, some other things like that.
Or outsource it. if your brain isn't naturally
right.
going there, then
Yes.
it's like find the partner
Right.
who can
Yeah.
be in that space where your brain isn't naturally going there. So,
Right. Yeah.
all right. Well, you have your homework.
I do.
Let's reconnect. We'll
Okay.
reconnect in a couple months and we'll do a check-in and we'll see where you're at with things. But I think you have a lot of options on the table. I think you have full-time options, you have, fractional options, but you still have the consulting option. And I think it's worth trying to hack at it, structure it correctly. And I think there's the potential for it to be that 50% that you're looking for.
Thank you. Stay tuned. I appreciate you.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of the Society Pod.